I wanted to know more about time. What is it that you're constantly exploring in terms of time?
What is it about time?
Spend your first half of your life acquiring and adding, thinking you can add to yourself, and it looks great. I mean, it looks great when you got a cool car and you got good, nice clothes, and you know, and you've done something that people admire, but it can never fulfill you. You can never be happy. You know what I mean? It's not where happiness comes from.
1991 killings of innocent people was a story I've always wanted to tell. It's really important to tell the story so that the world understands that Lithuania is an independent nation, and perhaps more importantly, that those men, that woman, those sons are remembered, because before long too many of the younger generation of Lithuania and elsewhere will forget these people. And so to me it's the most important event in most Lithuanians' lifetimes.
But, you know, everybody's looking for bliss, you know, in some way or another. And I think I've come to the realization lately that that bliss comes in waves, and everybody gets a certain amount of it.
Yeah.
But in between, it's just hard work being in this body. You know?
And that it is the unwise person to expect bliss will be there all the time.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely.
You can make history, or you will be vilified by it. This disaster has grown beyond the choices that individuals make. This is now about our industries and our governments around the world taking decisive, large-scale action.
The present, this moment, is kind of like a knife's edge. It doesn't really exist. It's so fleeting. And I guess...
What do they need that your talent can provide?
As a UN messenger of peace, I have traveled all over the world for the last 2 years documenting how this crisis is changing the natural balance of our planet. I have seen cities like Beijing choked by industrial pollution, ancient boreal forests in Canada that have been clear-cut, and rainforests in Indonesia that have been incinerated. In Greenland and in the Arctic, I was astonished to see that ancient glaciers are rapidly disappearing, well ahead of scientific predictions. All that I have seen and learned on my journey has absolutely terrified me. There is no doubt in the world scientific community that this is a direct result of human activity, and the effects of climate change will become astronomically worse in the future. Our planet cannot be saved unless we leave fossil fuels in the ground where they belong. Now think about the shame that each of us will carry when our children and grandchildren look back and realize that we had the means of stopping this devastation, but simply lacked the political will to do so. Yes, we have achieved the Paris Agreement, More countries have come together here to sign this agreement today than for any other cause in the history of humankind, and that is reason for hope. But unfortunately, the evidence shows us that it will not be enough. A massive change is required right now, one that leads to a new collective consciousness, a new collective evolution of the human race, inspired and enabled by a sense of urgency from all of you. We can congratulate each other today, but it will mean absolutely nothing if you return to your countries and fail to push beyond the promises of this historic agreement. Now is the time for bold, unprecedented action. It is time to declare no more talk, no more excuses, no more 10-year studies, no more allowing the fossil fuel companies to manipulate and dictate the science and policies that affect our future. The world is now watching. You will either be lauded by future generations or vilified by them. You are the last best hope of Earth. We ask you to protect it, or we and all living things we cherish are history.
Excuse me. That's quite a wrap you're wearing. Perhaps I could get you some fluffy new slippers made from the heads of innocent and defenseless baby seals.
Another activist, McGuire.
Activist, yes. Activist, yes.
Mr. Ventura, there's nothing wrong with enjoying the fruits of nature. You should try it sometime.
Alrighty then. You know something? You're right.
The year before President Nixon created the EPA, the Cuyahoga River was so dirty from industrial pollution and oil slicks that it literally caught on fire.
But you had to bring something, otherwise they would not continue to give you the chance, and you obviously recognize that.
You have to allow yourself to be seen. That's the risk.
Basically what a trawl does is it's a huge net that's put behind a really big boat, and the net is weighted down and has rollers. There's a bunch of different kinds of them. It has rollers, and you put it on the bottom of the ocean. It sort of digs down to a depth of about 8 inches, and then you just drag the thing, and you drag it till the net fills up. And well, what does it fill up with? Well, whatever's down there. Coral. So especially now that they're fishing out the deeper areas of the ocean, all the coral's coming up, 300-pound chunks of it. Maybe they figure it takes 10,000 years to grow. And you know, that's habitat for fish. You run a trawler over an area, there's nothing left of it. It takes everything. You haul it up, what happens? You take your 10% of the damn fish that's in there that you want to eat, and you throw 90% back, because that's what you have to do by law.
For this.
Do you recycle?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
Climate change is now affecting every country on every continent.
The proper environment for human beings is presented quite properly as a garden, and that the role of people, and that's explicitly stated in the second story in Adam and Eve, was to tend the garden. And that means to make the proper decisions and to make sure that everything thrives and flourishes, and so that it's good for the things that are living there that aren't just people.
The natural environment is around us wherever we are, and getting closer to it is good for our physical and mental health and our emotional and spiritual well-being.
Listen up, people. I am here and I want to help. This is our planet. Can I get a hurrah? What, am I invisible? Doesn't anybody care? Listen to me!
It seems to me that you don't believe climate change is real.
I am uncertain.
You're uncertain?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of my climate change is, of course, is of course real.
Human activity affect climate change?
More than likely, but the extent to which I think is very uncertain. And my
Well, would you rely on scientists to give you that answer or not?
No, I've had that question for a very, very long time.
There is a thing called clean coal.
Who's is that?
Hey, man. Give me the ball.
Do you know what's in this thing?
Air.
Lots of air that we could be breathing. Free the air! Hey, go little air, go! Go, hurry! Fly away!
Reality has a way of, hitting you in the nose if you're not paying attention. And I think that the public is starting to realize the science, in part because it's indisputable.
What can we do? First of all, we must face the truth. And then we can change our course.